Well, as many of you know, I live in South Florida, and it is hurricane season. So today, I am going to take advantage of the fact that there is a hurricane heading this way, a tropical storm. It's going to be mostly on the west coast of Florida, but the area I live in is under a tropical storm watch. We are predicted to get some bad weather, both wind and rain. And I thought to myself, like any true hiker, wouldn't it be a great time to set up my tent and see how it does in very bad weather? So I have just received, about a week or two ago, my new Zpacks tent. So I decided I'm going to set up my solo tent, stake it out, and see how it does in the high winds, which hopefully will only be about 35 to 40 miles per hour in my area at the most. I'm not expecting more. I do have some protection, I feel, because I do have some hedges, and there's a wall or a fence that belongs to my neighbor, which I think will block and protect it. But I think there will still be some stronger winds in the area. So I think it's a good test to see how the tent does. And if I get a chance, either later tonight or tomorrow, I will actually try to go into the tent during a rainstorm or a squall that comes through, a band, and see how it does. So really, I'm just setting up the tent to see how it does in some bad weather. And we usually get heavy rain, but we don't usually get rain associated with like a squall line or winds that I know about in advance and I could set up. So I figured, why not? So here I am out in my backyard. I'm going to set up the tent here. Generally, it gets flooded in the yard in the corner there. It's a low-lying area, but here generally stays, I should say, drier. It definitely will get wet, but it won't be as flooded. So I'm going to set it up here. We'll go from here. Okay, so here I am sitting back down. You can see the tent set up there behind me in my yard. Sometime tonight, overnight, is when the winds are really supposed to pick up. So unfortunately, I don't think I'll be up. There's always a possibility. I do have somewhere to go tonight, and I will come home and I'll check on the tent again. I may even get in it and spend some time, maybe do some videoing, but I doubt I'll sleep in it overnight. But anything's possible. But I definitely would like to go inside of it and experience a very strong rain event and wind event while I'm inside of it. I think that would be pretty good. So I may actually put my pad in there and maybe even bring a light blanket or something and go in there and just spend some time in there and see how it's going. Possibly even sleep in there. We'll see. I doubt it though. I'm like everyone else. I like being comfortable too. So, but it'll be interesting to see how it does, and I think it'll weather the storm, literally and figuratively, pun intended, quite well. I have the utmost confidence in the tent. It's now almost 4 o'clock. The tent's been set up for about 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours the most. A little bit of rain came through, but very little. Most of the weather right now has been windy and breezy. So it's also still quite hot, but luckily with the breeze, it's kind of cooled off lately, and the cloud cover has kind of increased. So the temperature, luckily, has gone down. It's actually 82 degrees right now, but the humidity and the heat index, it feels like 95. But at least it's back below 100, where it was earlier. It was above 100 degrees. So definitely liking the shade, the cloud cover that the clouds are giving. And the wind, like I said, it's been about, maybe up to 15 miles an hour. But most of the time it's around probably 9 to 11, gusting a little bit, maybe higher. The wind has picked up a little bit, and the rain has obviously picked up. It was raining most of the way home for me. The wind was intermittent. There's some gusts. It's basically in the teens, with occasional gusts probably in the upper teens, maybe as high as 20 miles per hour. But I think most of the time it's about 9 to 12 right now. It's not that bad here. Every once in a while, you'll feel a nice breeze come through. You can hear the rain a little bit as well, but I came out and checked on the tent. It's been set up now for probably about 7 or 8 hours, and there is absolutely, with all the wind and the rain we've had and a couple of bands that have gone through, there is absolutely no water inside the tent. So I am pretty happy with that. And I do have a sleeping bag and a mattress pad here, but I'm not going to use them. I'm probably going to actually head inside, but I'm going to leave the tent set up overnight, and I'll come back here again in the morning. So I'm pretty happy with the tent so far. So even though it's been set up for several hours in the rain's been intermittent between, more heavy downpours to drizzling, like now it's drizzling. There has been no splashing back up into the tent in some of the corners, and all these little small cords that you can tighten to keep the bathtub held up seem to be doing a good job doing that. So I'm going to go around and check them again and make sure they're all pretty good in terms of set for the night. There's grass all around me. I'm on a good patch of grass. It's soft, so you don't have as much splashback as you would probably if I was on a heavily used site that had dirt, and you get like more mud and you get more splashback because there's no grass to absorb the rain falling. But other than that, I'm pretty happy and content with it. And here is what the tent looks like from the outside. Hope you can see. It's pretty high over here. Right there. It's pretty high. Would love to probably lower that a little bit or stretch it out. Coming around the tent, you can see it's a good pitch. There's water going. I just tightened up a couple of these lines in the back. I'm probably going to go back and fix them a little bit. But you can see how right here, I could see a little water collecting there probably. But this over here is really good. So I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, so I went around and just tightened up a little lines a little bit, just adjusted them. It's a pretty good pitch, I think. Could be a little better. There's probably a little bit of learning curve. I probably would like to move some of the stakes out a little further and make them a little lower to the ground if it was really heavy weather like this. So, but you can see around the back here, looks like a pretty good taut surface, and there's a lot of beating of the water to flow down. So you can see right here in the very front, I think that the tarp material is pretty high if it was really a driving rain and it was coming from the direction of the doors. If it's coming from behind or the sides, I think it's fine, but I would probably want to, as you can tell right here, I would probably want to raise this up a little bit and see if I could get a little higher. I would probably want to lower this so it's a little closer to the ground so I wouldn't get some splashing. But other than that, it'd be a good spot, I think, and it'll do okay. Good morning. Well, it is 6:55. Some of the outer bands have started coming through. Right now, the winds are at 23 miles per hour, and you can see the tent is holding its own. I'm going to actually try to venture to go inside and spend some time in it. Well, here I am in the tent. And the tent is totally dry. It's been out here all night. I'm not seeing any water intrusion at all. Some heavy bands have come through. So, I don't know if you just saw the flashes of lightning. Should be hearing thunder in a second or two as it gets closer. There's actually, you can feel the breeze coming through the tent though, from these little vents on the floor where the water can drain through if there's condensation, but it also allows air to flow through as well. I got a little wet coming in here, but not too much. So here we are. Actually, I wouldn't say the hurricane is coming here. It's a hurricane, but a tropical storm. So right now it's currently showing it's 84 degrees where I'm at. Their average winds are about 9 miles an hour. There's gusts going through about 20 to 21 miles an hour. I'm in the tent. The sky's starting to lighten up right now. It's a little after 7. There's about 7 or 8 minutes until official sunrise, but obviously the sun is starting to come up and there's lots of cloud cover, obviously, and there'll be rain. So in the area I'm at now, there's a flood watch, tropical storm warning, lightning, rain, severe storm, and a tornado watch. Okay. And now for the bad news. I was just checking the weather, and it looks like there's no band probably for the next immediate half hour or so. So I'm going to actually go back inside, and I'm going to wait until the radar shows some of these bands getting a little closer. Well, it's coming up on 8:30 now. You can see cloud cover isn't as bad as it was before. So the sun's poking through. It's warmed up a little bit. It's in the 80s with the heat index. It's close to 90. We haven't really had any more rain come through. There was one band of wind that came through that registered, I think, 34 miles an hour at an airport that's a couple of miles away. But other than that, it's been usually in the teens with gusts like 17 or 19 miles per hour. So most of the time it's actually now a little breezy, maybe 10, 11 knots or 10, 11 miles per hour. So that's it. Tent's done well. I'm gonna turn you around and you can see there's a tent. It's a little loose in the flaps in the front. I think if I stake out this point here a little further, I'd get more of a spread. But other than that, the tent's done well. None of the stakes have come loose. These are on the backside. Everything looks pretty good. I did tighten up these a little bit earlier just to make them more taut, as you can see. But I think if I would have done a little better job spreading the stakes out when I set it up, I would have a better pitch, and I wouldn't have needed to do that. So I'll probably do that going forward. Try to remember. So as you can see, the tent has withstood the overnight hours with the wind and the rain with no problem. We didn't have as much rain as I was expecting or hoping for. It's definitely been windy overnight, and we've had some bands come through with, like I said, the highest gust I think was in the 30s. So more than I would probably get on the average night on the trail. So, but the tent has held up well. I think, like I said, if I would have taken better time in going forward, I'll try to do a better job of taking the corner stakes, this one here and that one right there, and maybe spreading them out a little bit. And I think that would make the front a little more taut. But other than that, the tent did well. I'm pretty happy with it. So more than likely, I'll probably just take the tent down now, take advantage of the nice weather that we're having. As you can see, the sun is coming out behind me. As you can see behind me, the sky is pretty clear and the sun is trying to poke out over those clouds. So as the bands move through, we're kind of on the fringe. I don't think we'll really get much more. The next probably 3 to 4 hours, we'll probably get some more wind and rain, but I don't think we'll get anything near as bad as other people are getting, obviously. And I don't think it'll really go over, 40 miles per hour winds. It's just me looking at the radar. What do I know? So that's it. So I'm pretty happy with the tent. No water came in at all, even with the blowing rain. And also, none of the stakes came out, so I'm very happy with that. And it seems to be roomy enough for me to be in there. And there's some airflow. Obviously, the wind here was higher than what I would normally get. So I think on a really hot day or, during the summer, in hot, humid conditions, this tent is going to be pretty hot. But I would be able to open up the doors, hopefully, and get a little bit of airflow. But that's the only disadvantage I see to this tent in hot weather, is that you're probably going to get warmer. And the opposite of that is the fact that during the winter, it's a small area that I could warm up with my body heat a little bit. And hopefully it would stay warmer than a bigger tent, because it is such a small area and there is less airflow. So it depends on the weather that you're camping in as well as to what's going to work for you. But Other than that, I'm happy with the tent. Like I said, I wanted to test it out to make sure there was no water intrusion, and that's really what I was concerned about. One thing I did notice is this little tiny area right here that looks like it was patched or it's stuck together. I'm not sure what that is supposed to be. It looks like there's a little patch here. So perhaps this was part of the same patching up there, but I didn't notice it until this morning. But that patch I did not notice until this morning. And I get it as I spend more time with the tent. So I don't know if that's a repair. It looks a little bunched up. I think it should be spread more, but I'm obviously going to leave it alone and not mess with it. Maybe I'll take a closer look at it a little later. But looking over the rest of the tent, I don't notice any other anomalies or anything that's standing out. So I checked out that little patch that I just found on the side, and it is a piece of DCF tape. And I actually peeled it off because it wasn't really stuck on very well. I think it's a patch that came, or a piece of tape that came from another area, because I pulled it off and there is actually no tear or no reason for a patch to be there. So I'm going to assume it actually came from somewhere else on the tent and maybe was a tape or something for a seam or somewhere else. And there's no reason for it to be where it is. So I actually peeled it off. It's just a little sticky there. If I do discover something, I can always put another piece of tape back there. And that to me just comes with experience of, obviously inquisitive as well. But beside being inquisitive, it comes with experience of knowing that, okay, whatever I do, I'm not going to damage the tent. I can always put the tape back on. That's it. I'm going to leave the tent out now to dry in the rain. And with the wind, it should dry off, and then I'm going to fold it up.